So, hello, welcome to this Enriching Brazil webinar. Today, the topic of the webinar is focused on the technology and research solutions that European and Brazilian organizations are putting in place against COVID-19. My name is Laura Monasterio. I work as a Knowledge and Project Manager for the International Association of Science Parks and Areas of Innovation, ISP, a founding member of Enriching Brazil. About technical issues, I would like to inform you that this webinar is being recorded and that the video recording will be uploaded to the Enriching Brazil website. The webinar will have a duration of approximately 1 hour and 50 minutes. And after the presentations, we will have time for question and answer. We have several participants today with us, so it is important that you specify to who is your question directed to. So please, when writing the question, write the company and the question. And now I would like to briefly introduce Enriching Brazil to those who are not yet familiar to our network. Enriching Brazil is the main hub and contact point for European and Brazilian organizations working in science, technology, and innovation. We started at a European Horizon 2020 project, but we are now legally established as an association of world-class players from both public and private companies. The main aim of Enriching Brazil is to encourage and facilitate cooperation in science, technology, innovation, but also is to regions. We offer a high-level services to our members, and but not only to our members, so to any organization interested in connecting with Brazilian and European market. We are located in Brazil. We have a headquarters in Brasilia, and we have also a focal point in Europe, in Brussels. And now maybe you are thinking about why to become part of our network. And I can say that our members benefit from different assets as innovation and business opportunities, knowledge and expertise, visibility and recognition, and networking and partnership. So if you are a Brazilian or a European entity or a particular interested in cooperation and in making business in Brazil or Europe, please contact us and get further information about how to benefit from becoming part of our network. And now going back to the main topic of today's webinar, which is the technology and research solutions that companies are developing for in Europe. In Brazil, we have 4 companies presenting their solutions from Europe and Brazil. We have Fiocruz, Xcalet, High Technology, and Mambalab. I would like to introduce the first speaker, Professor Rodrigo. If you can switch your webcam on. Professor Rodrigo Correa de Oliveira. He is Professor of Immunology and Vice President for Research and Biological Collections at Fundação Oswaldo Cruz. He will be presenting Fiocruz from Brazil. Hi.
Hi, Laura. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I apologize for some technical difficulties, but I think I sort of solved it because my computer died yesterday. So let me see if I can you see? Can you see, Laura? If everyone can see, I can just go from here.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, good. So Fiocruz is not actually a company, it's a research institution from the government and belongs to the Ministry of Health. So Fiocruz, we would like to present as a strategic partner for actually development of cooperation in Brazil at different levels. I'll show you how it is. So as you can see, Fiocruz is spread out around the country. So the blue points show where Fiocruz has been for quite a while. And the green ones is where Fiocruz is actually open. They're new, but they're still already open, and have activities related not only to research and development, but also to some production of new technologies developed by the researchers. So the reason I wanted to go into this second part is talking about biomes. It has to do a lot with COVID. So different questions can be asked around the temperature and the development in different areas, in different biomes. So as you can see, Fiocruz is present in all biomes of Brazil, what makes it very interesting and strategic for the development of technologies and also understanding more about COVID distribution. Also, if you look at this other map, you can see that the variation in temperature is quite high. So you can go for a very high, hot and humid temperature to the south of Brazil here, where it can be quite low and temperatures around sometimes below zero. So this has at the same time in the winter, you can see the variation, significant variation, and that actually will help us not on developing new technology, but also on the understanding of biology of the virus. So this is the map as of yesterday of distribution of virus in Brazil. It's still growing, unfortunately, and it going into the interior of Brazil with a very fast pace. They're around the coast here is where the most populated areas of Brazil are. And as you can see, the Amazon region, you don't have a lot of cases yet, but it's spreading. And unfortunately, it's also spreading towards the native Brazilians in the Amazon region. So to actually help with that program, Fiocruz has developed for the past several years a platform of technologies that are spread around Brazil. And the technologies are from genomics to proteomics, 3D printing, health environment, etc., etc. And these are the states where all the technologies, in dark blue, all the technologies that are in each state. So this is all of the states where Fiocruz are. You have these technological platforms available so that we can actually do all such of assays like bioprospective bioassays. We do significant proteomics, genomics, and that has become one of the biggest centers in the country where you can actually grow the capacity of studies based on this technology. So as you can see here, based on the years or the platforms were created, it was created way before 2011. But as you can see, the number of studies have been done in collection of biological materials has grown enormously. What puts us in a very strategic position to help people understand the biology of the virus and other infections. Like we had problems with yellow fever a few weeks ago, dengue, chikungunya, and so far. Those are the number of problems Brazil has been facing. So as you can see, it grows very significantly, and we do actually have, as biological collections, we basically keep a lot of these material collected in our biobanks. What makes it available for people from around the world to collaborate with us and actually understand a bit more. So based in these what I presented, we have been developing a significant amount of understanding of the infectious in several different levels. To do that, to make the system works quite well, what we've done, we created a whole program where they're all connected. So the data is actually brought into one server, and it's all actually interconnected between the platforms. Each platform has a manager, and this system all the data collected is public in Brazil. We also actually interacted significantly with companies that are interested in our service, and also to share technology and also knowledge obtained with these platforms. So the platform has a really well-established program. We have now developed even for mobile system where you can integrate your data, or you can request service, or you can actually provide tell people which use new technologies you're developing, what we can provide to the whole programs in Brazil. So it's not okay. The technology here is based on the platforms that we have developed during these years. However, since Fiocruz is an organization countrywide that has a lot of researchers developing new technologies, we have developed a new program that actually has been helping significantly with the new COVID pandemics. That's a program actually we can take people from the labs and become them entrepreneurs, or in a way that they can take their technology out of the lab and put into the use in the field. Among these are you can include some of the new PCR, real-time PCR that we are using in Brazil that were developed by Fiocruz. So to do that, the program is based on impact on innovation. So it potentializes the results of the research. It changed the mindset of researchers, including students and etc., towards entrepreneurship, and positions institution as a major player in innovation in health. This has been highly successful with significant incorporation of new technologies from the labs into the institute. So the methodology is kind of light here, but methodology basically is to inspire, engage, accelerate, and impact. So in some of the diseases that we work, we already have several of the technologies being produced in the market already. So that's how we do. We have a team selection. We develop a bio-business model, make it into the labs where we have actually eliminate people from if their technology is not better developed. And the last time, the end of the program, we have what we call a demo day, where people actually present their technologies, and they can be developing new startups or partners. Among them, we have some of them have already made agreements with Fiocruz itself to produce into their factories. I'll show in a minute. So going through all this process of development, the identification of programs, selection and production. So Fiocruz has the whole set of activities to be developed. So, for example, we have one institute called Biomanguinhos, this institute here, where we have produced significant vaccines, biopharmaceuticals, IBD, and IBD reagents. They are really important. That right now, what's being supported for Brazil on diagnosis being produced by Biomanguinhos, and by the last one here is called the IBMP. That's another technology center that Fiocruz has in the state of Paraná, in the south of Brazil. And besides that, we have Pharmanguinhos. That's this middle one here. That is the one involved on the development of pharmaceutical technology and incorporation of several of the medications that were discovered by our researchers or where we incorporate into our program, like antiretroviral drugs against AIDS and some of the new technologies and new products that are coming out in the market. So I know maybe I spoke very fast, but this is my time is limited. So this is how we are actually collaborating the whole program. I think by having the whole network of activities from the basic research, going through the development startups, and having this huge platform of the technology around the country, we can be very supportive of all the activities with all the companies in testing new medications, IVDs, or biologicals, etc. in Fiocruz. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rodrigo, for this presentation. And now the next speaker that we will have is Jordi Tura, CEO of XMReality, European company from Spain, and he will be presenting the XMReality. Thank you, Jordi. Jordi, sorry, we cannot hear you. Could you please switch your...
Right now it's
thank
working.
You.
Okay, so like I said, I'm going to make a mix. First of all, I want to show you some things in the screen. After that, I'm going to show you some video, okay, regarding that what we are doing right now. Some little presentation about us. XMReality is a company was born in 2015 to design some solutions in terms of orthotic and trauma to remove plaster, thermoplastics, and orthotic immobilization, something like this, okay? 3D printed, personalized for each patient. We develop our own solutions. We have arm, legs, whatever. We have the upper and lower extremities, most common immobilizations done. And we develop also artificial intelligence software to scan and produce this virtually automatically in less than 3 minutes. And after that, we develop also our own 3D printing technology and materials to get all the traceability of the product, since you scan as you need the final product done, without having any kind of knowledge about 3D printing or software, because these have to be used for doctors, traumas, or technicians. They don't have to have this knowledge. So we develop all this solution all together integrated, certification, FDA, CE approval, and the ISOs. And since well, COVID starts in China, because we are in 17 countries, and we've seen that all the situation in China for one of our providers. So we start working with the hospitals and centers worldwide to make different solutions, printing stuff. I mean, in terms of bulbs or tubes or parts of the breath machines, or well, different kind of collaborations. And we start also for our site to develop a mask, but not just a normal mask, a mask that can be used for more than 5,000 times. Also FFP2 and FFP3 that will be similar than N95 or N99 mask certification, and cheapest or similar than price that what it's working right now with FFP2 or FFP3 masks. And I mean, to solve the stock problem worldwide that the hospitals has, because any hospital was prepared for that volume of protection, face masks or shields or whatever, to assume, well, because you have to change this every day. Right now, it's impossible to do it. But in theory, the non-reusable masks, you have to use it if you are in the hospital with high range of viruses ratio. You need to change it every day. So the idea was to create some mask like this one I have here. Okay, so this is 3D printed. About more or less the explanation about this mask was developed to protect in front of virus and bacteria. For that, this is FFP3, not just from the filter that we have with nanotechnology inside. Like, well, you can see this is a nanotechnology filter, okay, with electrostatic material that you apply. Well, I will show you later because it's difficult to do it in front of the camera. But the filter has the protection, but also the material itself of the mask has the protection, because you cannot use FDM technologies or SLS or powder technologies to print that, because the layer, it's not too close and allows viruses and bacteria to come around, because it's more than 0.3 microns. So all this solution, it's the porous, it's less than 0.1 micron, so it's less the size than the virus, smallest virus. So allows to protect almost every kind of disease, maintain the breathable properties. Okay, so this right now we made it in serial, like different 3 sizes, like small, medium, large. But we are going to integrate this solution with our scanning solution that will be available with a cell phone to scan your face and to create your own mask behind your face, because you have to use this for several hours, so you need to be as comfortable as possible. And also we are talking about pricing around £10 each, with interchangeable filters that can be used. I mean, you can buy hundreds for 100 for £10 also. And this is much more competitive than normal chirurgical mask that's right now. Well, since before COVID was around 10 cents, something like that. Right now it's around $1 or $0.8, and for every day. So this generates a lot of cost, generates a lot of, well, I mean, in contamination in terms of plastics and papers and whatever. And we try to give something in the market available to that. Also, we have our own 3D printing technology, so we are able to have a higher range of production. I mean, with 40 of our machines, we can produce 500,000 units a month. So that means a lot for the 3D printing. I have to tell you that right now we are the fastest printing technology in the globe, more than Carbon 3D or Nexa 3D or these kind of companies. We can produce 15 max each machine in around 45 minutes each. So that means we can have a high range of production masks. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to put you a video to see how this mask simple put it together, and after that we can move into make some questions about it if you want. I'm going to share my screen. I don't know if it's sharing. I think yes. So I'm going to move to the video. I don't know if you can see my screen. Okay. Wait a moment. Sorry. Okay. This is simple. Comes with a simple back sterilized, the two O-rings that are available to close, and the two filters. These filters can be FFP2 or FFP3 depending on the necessities. A little stripe to put in the nose part. It's not necessary, but if you use it for a long time, and right now it's not personalized, it's better to put it in. So simple. Clean your hands before for sure, and put in the table also to after to apply all the parts together. So simple to close the front parts. Okay, fix it with the O-ring, not to move for the structure, maintaining the structure together. Okay. After that, you can proceed to apply the little strap in the nose part. All these parts are ISO certified. I mean, everything is contact skin and biocompatible materials with FDA and CE approvals. Okay, so it's not a problem. Also, the good thing of this mask is after finishing the printing, you give it a treatment of UV light, so it becomes 100% sterilized. If you want to continue sterilizing, you can use alcohol or soap if you want, but the best solution, if you have some UV box in your clinic, hospital, or wherever, it's simple to put in there for 30 seconds, and it's 100% sterilized, including filter. But for higher range of toxicity places, it's preferring not to maintain the filter more than 1 day. But well, and after that, well, the mask is done, and it's ready to use for all your entire life after, if it's not broken before. Okay, so I'm going to close this. And well, this is what we have. So after that, if you have some questions, we can proceed to answer. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jordi. Please write your answer in the question chat, and then we will go over there. Now the next speaker is José Álvaro Restrepo, Chief Marketing Officer of High Technologies from Curitiba, Brazil. He will be talking about the Hilab solution.
Thank you, Laura. Just one sec. Can you see my screen?
So we can see your screen.
Perfect. So thanks for the introduction. My name's Jose. I'm the CMO here at High Technologies. We're the creators for Hilab.
So, sorry, just say there are other noises.
Just 1 second. Okay, I think it's a little bit better. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about High Technologies. We are a health tech company that's been in the market for 14 years now. In 2016, the UN, together with the NVGO, published a report called "The Future of Spaceship Earth." And High Technologies was the only company in South America that was chosen, and it was mainly due to our online fast testing technology, which was chosen as a case for the third global objective, which was health and well-being. We are a telemedicine and medical device company. We've been developing medical device solutions and telemedicine software for the last 14 years. And then 2 years ago, we launched, 2.5 years ago, we launched Hilab. Our team is led by Marcos and Sergio, who are our founders. They are both Endeavor entrepreneurs. They've been working with health tech and telemedicine software since 2004 when they were in college. That first software started hacking medical devices to create dashboards so that physicians and nurses could monitor patients remotely without having to be in the ICU. And they received several awards due to this innovation. After this, they started to realize that their technology could save lives. And they started also developing hardware. So years later, both Marcus and Sergio developed Mili, which is a pulse oximeter. This pulse oximeter was sold in over 17 countries around the world. It's a UTI ICU oximeter, and today we continue to produce it. The company pivoted mainly towards Hilab, which I'll describe a little bit further ahead. But today our main customer is Medtronic, which is one of the biggest medical device companies in the world. And we've been doing tests for using Hilab since 2017. So a little bit more about our team. So right now we're around 130 people, probably a little bit more now since COVID hit, because we've been growing very quickly, trying to increase our impact around Brazil. So while I'm here, I'm the CMO. We have an infectologist, a physician who's Bernardo. He's our chief medical officer. He works here in the public hospital here in Paraná, in Curitiba, which is where we have our headquarters. Carlos and Raquel are also part of our team, and they've also been either in multinational companies or working with healthcare for a very long time. And a little bit about our investors. So we're a health tech startup that has 4 big investors behind. Positivo Tecnologia, which is the largest computer manufacturer in Latin America. They also produce smartphones. They're the ones that gave us the seed money to develop Hilab. Qualcomm Ventures and Monashis together invested in a second round. Monashis is a big venture capital firm from São Paulo, and Qualcomm is a Silicon Valley based company that does basically all of the microchips in cell phones around the world. And they have a venture capital arm that also invests, so they're also one of our investors. And then recently we also captured investment from Peninsula Participations, which is a private equity fund that's founded by Abilio Diniz, who is a very successful businessman here in Brazil. So those are our investors. They're behind our technology. In addition to our investors, we have strong partnerships with large technology companies that have helped us develop the solution and optimize it. So Hilab is an Internet of Things solution, and we use Qualcomm technology in all of our projects, as well as Intel inside. and all of our processing and AI algorithm and storage happens on Microsoft's Azure cloud. So we have a very strong Microsoft partnership with Microsoft as well. So what is Hilab, right? I spoke a lot about high technologies, but Hilab is the first remote lab exam service. It's accessible, it's reliable, and delivers results in 15 minutes. And we follow all the clinical lab requirements for here in Brazil. So we have a visa, registration, for the device. We have all the certificates for our lab, because we are not only a medical device manufacturer and a technology company, but we are also a clinical lab. So we follow all of the regimens and the certifications needed to process lab tests. So here's an image of the device, and I'll get into it a little bit more. But we like to say we're the smallest lab in the world. We have multiple patents behind this technology in Brazil and internationally. So we are a hard science tech company, and we take quality and our technology very seriously. And so we've innovated a lot, but we also make sure to keep quality as a principal theme. And so talking a little bit more about Hilab, it uses a capsule system. We like to say it's kind of like an espresso of exams. So for every blood test, you use a different capsule. And for every type of blood test, you have a different flavor of coffee kind of thing. So we've been in market for the past 2 years, and we're currently running around 20 different types of tests. So everything from pregnancy to dengue to Zika, chikungunya, cholesterol, diabetes, both the diabetes test that picks up, that picks up 3 months versus the one that picks up the daily glucose in the patient's blood, among other both chronic and infectious diseases. And we recently launched the COVID-19 test and capsule, so I'll get into it a little bit more. So we basically have two components here, which is the capsule and the device, right? So the capsule has all the biochemical part, which is where you deposit the blood and the biochemical reaction happens. And the device digitalizes the chemical reaction and sends it to our central lab using the internet. So you can see here it's 12 centimeters. So it's very, very small. It fits in the palm of your hand. It's very portable. So how does the Hilab experience work? So the patient goes to either a pharmacy or a health clinic or a posto de saúde, which is what we call here in Brazil. So like a health post. He will be attended by a professional, a healthcare professional that will collect. First, we will identify the patient. So we'll collect some personal information about the patient. So basic information like ID, name, gender. It will also, depending on the test that the patient will do, we have a specific questionnaire or survey that we ask for. So in the case of COVID, we ask what are the symptoms that he has, how long ago has he had these symptoms, has he been in contact with any known cases, among other questions. After that first step, the healthcare professional will then open one of our kits. So if you can see my camera, this is our COVID-19 kit. All of our kits come in these packets, or we'd recently developed a sort of a box that delivers more than just one, but each kit has everything you need to run the test except for the personal protection equipment like gloves and masks, etc. So inside the kit, you'll have the capsule, which inside the capsule, we have the chemical reagent and the test strip. It has a lancet, it has a pipette, it has a Band-Aid, and it also has an alcohol swab. So basically everything you need to run the test to collect the blood is in this kit. So he'll collect a drop of blood, insert the blood into the capsule, insert the capsule into Hilab, and each capsule will be digitalized. It'll be analyzed by AI algorithms, proprietary AI algorithms that help to detect potential interference, errors, or problems that could have happened with the test. And then that analysis happens in milliseconds and is shared with the lab specialist here in our central lab. So he has a software and an interface that will provide the analysis by the artificial intelligence, and then the healthcare professional will do their own analysis based on this information and deliver the results. And once he signs the report digitally, this result immediately is sent to both the healthcare professional who is running the test and also to the patient via SMS and or email and or our app or our website. So there's several ways you can access your report. And it's we follow all of the LGPD rules, so all of our data is organized in separate databases to make sure that you can never access a patient's information, of course, except for our central lab, who, you know, the specialists need to know especially the questionnaire on the test. They need to have the context because I don't know, as you know, biochemical reactions, they can have interference depending on when the patient is doing the test performs better or not. So having that context is important for the lab, especially for the patient to interpret the results afterwards, or for the healthcare professional to interpret the results. Currently, this is before COVID, so it's probably a little bit bigger now, but right now we're around 25% of Brazil's population lives less than 6 kilometers away from a high lab. So we've been able to develop a very robust network of devices here in Brazil. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about COVID-19. So we developed a serological test, or a blood test, for COVID-19. So it detects antibodies using immunochromatography. And basically, we follow the same procedure that we have with all of our tests. We deliver the result in 15 minutes, and we tell the patient if they are IgM or IgG, if they're a reagent for each of these. Since we are a lab, we always validate every test, both internally and externally, to make sure that the test that we're developing delivers on the expectation. So we run hundreds of samples here, both samples that could give false positives, give false negatives, to make sure we understand the limitations of the test. And whoever contracts our service, we also provide training that is not just on how to connect the device and how to use it, but also, depending on the tests that they contract on the service, we provide additional training on how to interpret the results, you know, what are the things to watch out for, what the result means, so that the healthcare professional can provide some minimal orientation. We always ask for patients to confer their results with their doctor, because who gives the diagnosis is the doctor, right? Especially with COVID. It's important for the doctor to analyze the symptoms, how long those symptoms have been around, and how intense those symptoms are. But it's a very tricky disease because many people don't have symptoms. So testing has become paramount for that. And so the test results, we give them, they're ready in from 15 to 17 minutes. And I think one of the nice things about our services is also that, since everything is internet connected, and we have all the data of the healthcare professional that's doing the test, when they're doing the test, what test they're doing, and also the patient, we have basically a real-time map of basically all the testing we're doing. But specifically for COVID, we have a real-time map also of, you know, where are the places where we're having more positive results. And we report daily, well, as part of the law, but we also report daily to the Brazilian Minister of Health. And basically, through this data, we're being able to provide real-time geolocation, number of people tested, percent of negative patients, percent of patients with previous contact, percent of immune, and we made sure to include immune because we know that still this is something that's being proven, right, investigated. How immune are you if you've already had COVID-19? And the percent of patients with the different types of antibodies. So whether they're IgM, whether they're IgG, or whether they're both. So this data has also become very useful for our customers. We're currently producing in a partnership with Senai and the FIEP system. They actually are the ones that asked us or invited us to participate in this webinar. So we're producing millions of tests right now, especially in the state of São Paulo, which is a state, together with Amazonas are the two states that are most impacted right now. Of course, the disease is spreading very quickly in Brazil. So if you've been following the news, you know we've already hit more than 10,000 cases, so 10,000 deaths. So that's it. I don't know if I passed my time, but thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jose Alvaro, for this presentation. And now our next speaker is Marcin Szymanski, Chief Sales Officer of XMReality from Sweden in Europe. Marcin, if you can switch your web on if you wanted.
Your audio,
Marcin,
please.
we cannot hear you. No. Could you please try again? We cannot hear you. You're mute.
Now?
Yeah.
Does it work?
Yes, it works.
Hello? Finally. Can everybody see my screen is my question.
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. So let me just run that. So, hi there, everybody. My name is Marcin Szymanski, and I'm from XMReality. XMReality is an AR remote guidance company from Sweden. We were founded already in 2007 through the Swedish military in a cooperation where we have built a solution that is hardware and platform independent for guiding people remotely. So if you look up to the left corner where a person is holding his or her phone, you can see that person is filming something through XMReality. Now what happens on the screen is that anybody anywhere in the world can interact as if they were there with that person. So the hand on the screen is in fact an expert's hand trying to guide that person filming something. So our solution is built to provide communication and to leverage the collaboration aspect of how we share knowledge, which especially and significantly has been impacted by COVID-19 as well, right? So we got founded in 2007. An interesting part with our setup with the Swedish military and now also foreign military, so we work with almost every military in the world right now, is that our solution is built for communication on a low bandwidth level, meaning we can provide this communication down on satellite connectivity and still produce the video quality of HD, regardless of where you are in the world, which means that we can scale and access people everywhere, not dependent on 3, 4G or 5G connectivity, and still be able to collaborate in areas, in harsh environments, in areas where we don't have the reach. So the whole thought of XMReality is simplicity, really. We started to build our solution looking at how can we make anybody in the world use a remote guidance tool. What are the essentials? How do we push people to use it without impacting either the cost scenario or forcing people to download anything or forcing people to buy specific hardware as well? So the whole platform is built on simplicity, meaning we've created something that is true mobility and flexibility, where we can interact with anybody, anywhere, at any time, in any part of the world. As we are built on a military platform, meaning we have a peer-to-peer connectivity, we are not hindered by Chinese or other types of regulations as well with regard to internet access, etc. So our setup will always work, and that is one of our taglines. It always works. If we look back to last year, and I think we are alone in the world on that. So last year we had 100% connectivity on all our remote guidance calls, which is quite unique, even with regard to simple phones. Not even they can manage that type of setup. But we see another aspect as well of using our solution, which has grown remarkably with some of the biggest companies in the world, like ABB, like Nestle, like IKEA, like Electrolux, Siemens, etc. All the big ones. And that's the aspect of sustainability. So what we've realized together in those cooperation is that the more we push our solution, the more companies roll it out, the more sustainable we get, because we can perform not only simple tasks remotely, we can perform really advanced tasks remotely, as we in fact can teleport my hands, my tools, my spare parts through the video screen, showing somebody exactly how to perform a repair, for example. Which leads us to the main point of our solution, and that is service excellence. Driving service excellence, but we can bridge geographic boundaries and as well language boundaries, because being able to show exactly how to perform a task through a video setup means that you really don't have to understand each other. You can follow the expert's hands, moves, tools, and see how things are put together, and you can do the same. And in that way, we can also audit the full repair or installation, etc. See to that everything runs correctly. So just to give you a picture, because it's hard to understand on what the impact is, I'm going to show you a small movie. The movie will show how a simple interaction with XMReality could be set up. Do you hear the sound? Just a question from the movie.
No.
No, we cannot. No.
Let's try it again then. Now?
No.
That's strange. So I'll have to walk you through it instead.
Okay.
Yeah. So in this scenario, the girl has a problem with her printer. So she calls into the printer help desk. That person answers the call and enters the work order into that ticketing system. In this scenario, Zendesk, as an example. From that system, he enters the phone number to the person out having problems. That person receives a text message, meaning we're not installing anything, we're not downloading anything. When she presses that text message, she will be pushed into a remote guidance call in the built-in web browser on that unit. And remember, we are totally hardware independent, meaning we can do this on phones, on tablets, computers, on smart glasses, regardless if it's iOS, Android, or Microsoft. And the unique thing here is we can teleport our moves. So right now, the back office technician is showing exactly what she has to do to repair that printer. So as you see, he puts his hand under the camera, and that is projected on the receiver screen. So anything you push under that camera will be projected to the receiver. And in that way, we can guide people all over the world to execute a repair exactly as it should be done. In this example as well, when ending that ticket, the video is recorded and then tagged into the ticketing system or to a work order, etc. So you can reuse that knowledge for future training as well. In this scenario, you saw the video built from a Microsoft, and then you had the camera connected to that computer. Now, the same could be done from your phone, meaning I can perform that overlay, which we call it hands overlay, regardless if I'm using a phone, a tablet, computer, or smart glasses. The only thing I do in that scenario is I fill my hand with my phone, and that hand will be projected on the receiver's phone, which means scalability from our point of view. So again, trying to make anybody have the ability to use this solution to be able to push collaboration and solve tasks together with several others. So connecting with XMReality, there are two possibilities. The first one is the one you saw in the movie. It's sharing a link, meaning the person that is the expert has a license. That person can execute a web link to anybody out there in the world. When you open that web link, you will connect directly into a web guidance call within the built-in browser. And you can start guiding that person, interacting about solving an issue. Or both sides has the ability and the license to have the application, right? So in that scenario, both sides would have the app installed, which you download from iTunes, from Google Play, Microsoft, or our homepage. And you can connect directly where in that scenario, both people can use all functions in the solution. Now, some simple setups of what we can do. Gestures, for sure, as you saw, I can teleport my hand, tools, anything. But you can also annotate, meaning in the movie, in the live video stream, we can draw on the screen. We can use pointers. We can share our screen, exactly as we're doing now in Zoom, or share a CAD, a picture, etc., and guide on that. So we have the full flexibility of presenting anything we want to the receiver and guiding on that as well. As I said, we can record and we can also shoot pictures during that call. So we can build a full training setup, which we can document and store back to a document management system, reuse that for future education. Then we have two specific features as well. One is guide on image, which is a bit specific. It's built as an offline feature, meaning, let's say you don't have connectivity with internet. In that scenario, you can just take a picture with our solution. Whenever you are connected to the internet, you can connect to the expert, and the expert can guide you on that picture, which is then pre-recorded back into your phone, tablet, or the type of unit you are using, and then you can replay that out at the field where connectivity isn't available again. And of course, we have our multi-participant AR conference call as well, which is quite unique, meaning doing the hands thing, hands overlay, we can connect up to 5 people collaborating around maybe an installation, a solve of some kind. So up to 5 people can do this together, trying to solve an issue. Now, working with XMReality, we can give you help almost in a step, to be honest. We have some examples here of our customers. So what we do is we try to attach to the full service process, regardless if it's internal, external. It could be a service action for maintenance, for repairs, but it could be a service when we talk about onboarding, training, HR, etc. So we have the full ability where you can use the solution. Some examples is like ABB, for example. They've built their full maintenance setup for ABB power grids around XMReality and offer this as a diamond SLA, really. So they are building new revenue streams through XMReality remote guidance by saying that we can offer you faster support, we can guarantee you a higher output on your machines by 10% maybe, and in that way clients are willing to pay more because they can do this faster through XMReality remote guidance. Or we can set up customer help desks, as you saw in the movie, to provide support not only companies to companies, but also to consumers as well, within the energy sector or within appliances, etc. One example of appliances is, of course, Electrolux, providing help desk to normal people like we all are, repairing a washer maybe or a microwave, etc. through this solution, which gives you a push towards that well, it gives you building you higher NPS scores with your consumers and clients, for sure. So regardless of what type of process you have, you always have the need of collaborating, of giving support, of guiding people. And that's where XMReality comes in, where you don't have to fly or travel to be able to do this. You can collaborate with a person like you do in real life almost through our solution. And I mean, as I said in the beginning, we have a lot of customers today. We work with some of the biggest companies in the world. So we are not really a startup, I would say, but we are a company that is growing really fast, extremely fast, I must say, and especially through COVID, as the scalability and simplicity of our solution has proven to be the fastest way of getting people to interact with each other. Because as we don't crave any specific hardware or installations or platforms, that means that anybody, regardless if you have an old Samsung S4, S5, or you have a new ARKit phone, can use the solution to collaborate. And especially in these times where people are left alone at home, they don't have the ability to meet expert, meet help in any way. This solution becomes really critical. So everything from industry production to healthcare, we are working with Norwegian ambulances to Swedish hospitals, all the way through. And just some examples of KPIs and RIs, which could be interesting. I would say the most interesting part here is ABB. How they've managed to by some simple means without installing anything, again, able to save up to $500,000 in one call. And this is done repeatedly each month, as they manage to hold output from production sites up by X% towards their clients. So in fact, they're every month saving millions of dollars for their clients and as well themselves. So that was the short presentation I was going to run through. Any questions on that?
Thank you, Martin. The question will be done by the end of the webinar. So please remember to write in the question chat, and we will go over after the presentations. And now it's time for the last company presenting today. The company is Mamba Labs from Recife, Brazil, and will be presenting COVID, Rodrigo Assad, PhD. Rodrigo, if you can switch your webcam on.
Okay, I'm not using webcam from this device. I'm connecting from my cell phone. I'm really sorry about that. Yesterday when I tried the connection to the website, I didn't receive any errors, but today I received that it's not supported. I don't understand. So I'm using my cell phone, and I want to apologize everybody about that. And another point is I can't share my presentation. So like in any startup, I'm going to make a pitch, an elevator pitch for everybody. Yeah.
Okay, we will listen to you. Rodrigo, please go ahead.
Okay, Mamba Labs is a startup from Recife. Recife has a huge digital environment for startups, ecosystems, and so on. I think we are the first of Brazil, and we are still on the third biggest on Brazil until now. We are not the biggest state, but we are still relevant for IT community on Brazil. Mamba is a startup started in the Rural Federal University of Pernambuco, where I am a professor. And we stimulate our students to solve complex problems on the real world to create startups. So basically what we addressed and we developed in Mamba was a tracing solution for the COVID problem. And here in Pernambuco, the advisors and the people responsible to make controls of the population released a challenge to to ask for solutions and how we can adopt technologies to solve COVID problems. So we create DI-COVID. A DI-COVID is a trace solution. And what we do in our trace solution is we can anonymously identify regions of people and group of people. As well, we can give to the user the risk to be contaminated with COVID here in Pernambuco. I think we are the big unique. I'm not sure if we are the unique, but we are, as I know, the most used platform in Brazil for that. We have a partnership with IBM, Claro, and another universities, and as well as the Pernambuco State. We can deliver proximity of users without identifying people. Okay, so it's another key point that we have. So what we are looking for, the reduction of the virus spreading here, but we imagine on the future we are adopting this solution for security, for mobility, for companies and tracing companies, and as well we are looking to still working on healthcare platforms because COVID is a problem now, but probably in the future we will have another one. Okay, so we inform the people about the probability to be contaminated, and we can give him some isolation tips and health guidelines. Recently, we integrate our platform with a remote healthcare platform. So if you feel some symptoms of the COVID, you can speak with a doctor and take your doubts and so on. It was released on iOS and Android. It has a very huge backend with IA and another algorithms, very complex algorithms to make maths and associations. We use GPS and Bluetooth technologies to identify people. I don't know if everybody is familiar with that, but you can also use Bluetooth to identify devices, and using these you can define a group of people together. It's very useful for tracing people. And also we can deliver health information for the authorities here on Pernambuco. We have a dashboard. On this dashboard you have a map. Inside this map you can see where you are, if there is more people closer to you, and you can make a trace to the people, to the place that you want to move, and then you can check if it's a safe place to go. So you can see aggregation of people in this platform. And we are now integrating this with the central government result of COVID exams. So you can receive your exam inside the app, and based on that, you can identify yourself as a people on risk or not. It's another key feature that we are providing now. What we are addressing now, we are looking for more engagement. So we are very closer to the agents, bloggers, and politicians. They are making lives, and all the time they are talking about us. So we are even more increasing the number of users on the platforms. We can identify regions of transmissions. We are still delivering this information for the user and for their authority as well. We can avoid the crowd on places, as I mentioned. So we inform if the place that you are looking, where the place that you are moving, sorry, are crowded or not crowded. So you can make your choice and you define if you want to have this risk to your healthcare. Okay. What we are doing now, we are closer to be a officially solution adopted for a very huge company on a global company, and if we sign these, probably we have to identify partners to make more business together, because we will have more job to do than we can support inside our team. We are trying to connect drugstores, supermarkets, and so on, to deliver to him this information about how many people and if it's crowded, how can a control queues and so on. So we are even more assertive on that. We are having per week 2,000 downloads of this application. So we are very close to be very significant in our state here on Brazil. So basically, this is the dike of it. This is what we do, and what we are looking for, and what is our aspirations is to, after that, use this technology to control the population, mobility, healthcare, and security, public security sectors. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rodrigo. So now it's time for a question and answer. So if you have not sent your question, please write it in the question chat. And I will invite the other speakers to switch their webcam on so we can be all online. Thank you, Rodrigo. Jose Alvaro. And okay, we have a couple of questions here. Okay, this question is for Hilab, I think. And it said, to high technologies, how many samples were included to evaluate the sensitivity and specificity? How many days after beginning of symptoms?
Sure. So we've been running several validation studies, right? So part of the biochemical part of the insumos, or things that come outside of Brazil, we have partners that we've been working together for 2 years now, and they have our devices. So we did our validation sort of in 3 steps. The first step was to do a validation in their location, which was, I think, around 1,000 patients, 1,000 samples. Here in Brazil, we did a first validation in our lab with around 300 samples. And we've done 2 external validations also with around 200 samples each. Those samples, we did them with varying days of symptoms and varying patients, and we also included patients with potential interference, so either people that have had vaccines in recent days, or also people that have had dengue or Zika, which could be potential interference for the testing. So we did patients from 0 to 7 days, which is the window where the test performs least well, because the time that it takes for the virus to incubate and for the body to produce the antibodies. So we did from 0 to 3 days, from 3 to 7 days, from 7 to 10 days, and so on and so forth. And what we discovered is that the longer the person has had the virus, the higher the sensitivity and the specificity of the test, especially the sensitivity. On IgM, the sensitivity is a little bit lower. I think it's around 86%. On IgG, the sensitivity is higher, like 96%. This is also intrinsic of the antibody, because the IgM antibody stays in the blood for a shorter period of time. And something else that we've discovered is it depends a lot on the patient. So that's one of the reasons why we ask about the days since symptoms, because usually patients that have less serious case or that are asymptomatic, they develop the antibodies faster, so the test can detect earlier. However, patients that are more severe or that are hospitalized take up to 20 days to develop the antibodies. So it's really important to know when you're using the test and what you are using it for. The ideal use of the test, or the ways that it's being used in Brazil, not just our test, but other testing, is twofold. One is for epidemiological tracking, so you know how well spread the virus is in the population, and also is to minimize the waste of RT-PCR testing, which is a more expensive and more difficult test to run. So what we've seen in some hospitals is they run a blood test first, since the sensitivity of the test is very high. If it tests positive, and of course, if the patient has symptoms, then they're choosing not to run an RT-PCR test, and already working like this patient has COVID-19. And just, I guess, one last thing on that question. There's been a lot of discussion on the sensitivity and accuracy of the tests. This test, like any test, has its limitations, and so it has a tendency to give more false negatives, especially because of the window. So if you just contracted the virus, it's more likely for you to have a false negative. However, false positives are very rare, because of the high specificity and high sensitivity of the test. Just like, for example, HIV test, you have to have the right time to the fast test. You have to have the right time. If you believe you contracted HIV yesterday, you still have to wait 30 days before you run the test, because it will give you a negative result in the first 30 days. So I think it's more about understanding the science behind the tests than saying whether they work or not.
Okay, thank you, Dulce. There is a question for Marcin for XMReality. Does XMReality work for telemedicine?
Yes, we do. So we have a lot of telemedicine customers. We have, let's say, GlaxoSmithKline, GE Healthcare. We work with hospitals. We work with ambulances, etc. So, I mean, within medicine, all different groups of medicine companies use us. So, and especially in the COVID situation where you are restricted to enter specific areas, it's a perfect solution to interact with people. Yep.
Okay, one question for Jordi. Are the filters produced by the company also?
Yep.
Okay, and there was another attendee that wanted to know your contact details. Jordi, just a second. I don't know, or the contact of the company. I think in your website will be the, if you have an email or
xmreality.com, that's xskelet.com. You can find some section about COVID-19. Everything it's not well done correct yet, because we are working super fast. So well, you can find us there, and you can talk with us. We have the R&D in Spain. We have the holding company in UK, London based, and right now we are starting with a massive production with NHS and military department in UK. We are expanding this worldwide. So well, this is what we can do.
Okay, another question for Hilab High Technologies. What are the costs of each test?
Great question. I forgot to talk about that. So one of the missions of High Technologies is to democratize access to healthcare for everyone to have the same treatment. In Brazil, we have a very dissimilar or separated healthcare system. So basically, who can have private insurance will have access to most of the best hospitals and most of the big labs. And that's around 25% of the population. And 75% of the population depends on public healthcare, which in Brazil is actually it's a very strong part of the healthcare system in Brazil. Public healthcare in Brazil is very good, but it is millions, hundreds of millions of people. And usually funding isn't the most as much as it should be. So we try to, right now, I believe we have the cheapest test in Brazil. For the patient, I think he can find the test for 130 reais, so final price, which is around $20 to run the test. And that's on sort of like the retail value. When we get higher scale and bigger orders, we can do even better pricing than that. But that's sort of the average price right now.
Okay, just a moment. Okay, so now I think that the time of the webinar is over. Thanks to all the presenters, the speakers, for these interesting presentations. Thank you all the attendees to attend the webinar, and we hope that it was interesting and useful for all of you. And if you have further questions, you can contact Enrich in Brazil, and we will be happy to provide you information about this webinar, but also about our services and how to become part of our network. So thank you very much to all. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you, Laura.